The failing Met Police is sadly a story we consistently come back to time and time again on this show. And today, even I went, what? We heard this from Met Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley.
Most weeks there's 2 or 3 officers going to court for criminal cases, which tends to be a mix of sort of dishonesty, violence and sort of violence against women and girls type offences, domestic abuse, sexual offences, etc.
Wow. Flippant? I don't know. Only last week we were discussing corrupt cops with our experts after yet more shocking revelations.
Policing is broken. It's, trust in the police is at an all-time low. And for me, this is just another example of a system that doesn't work. We've got a culture within the police that allows these things to continue, and we get yet more empty words and empty promises from senior police officers.
The brand of the Metropolitan Police has become so toxic, is so synonymous with the most serious wrongdoing by police officers that it might be time to ditch the brand, reinvent the organisation and start all over again.
Couldn't agree more. As the public confidence in policing continues to crumble, it's a fact. The question tonight is, do we need an overhaul? Let's get back to our Cabinet. Frankie Leach, former Labour advisor. Is it right to say we need an overhaul? Because it's disgusting and wrong. Again, another organisation.
Yeah, I think it is right. This isn't just a case of a few bad apples. The whole tree is rotten as far as I'm concerned. Time and time again, we've got stories of, police constables, mainly men, to be honest, committing the most horrendous crimes, particularly against, women and girls. And it begs the question, does the police have a problem when it comes to women and girls? We've seen time and time again this story of misogyny within the police force, female police officers feeling that the culture that they work in is not safe, worrying about the nicknames their colleagues have had. And then we've seen it all the way to the top to see police officers murdering and, sexually assaulting women. And it's clear to me that they have not got a handle on this problem. This has been going on for years. Never mind all of the stuff that we've got with race as well, just focusing only on women and girls. That is a problem in itself. We've got loads of other issues that the police are dealing with at the moment. It's clear to me this needs root and branch reform by someone external. They can't just keep having inquiries where police inside the system
there almost needs to be a Royal Commission. Denise,
absolutely.
For me, I know we always talk about the Met. I think there have been and are many examples across the country. I think it's a national policing issue. Again, to me, extraordinary that this has not been addressed before.
I think last year, November, you had 11 police areas, all in special measures. And that was something that the Observer brought to the attention of the public. And I think there is a crisis in policing in terms of confidence and also misogyny. I think societally, we have a misogynistic problem, and the police are a microcosm of that. Let's not forget last year that we had Priti Patel vote down the statute for misogyny to go on the law books. We would have had something, we could have pinned something like this on. But yet we have another David Carrick, and he was raping up until 2021.
And then whilst being investigated, thank you so much, Neil, was put on light duties. We've talked tonight already about how public confidence in politics is in the gutter, right? In the loo. It's a great word. We now can't trust the police. That's the overwhelming message. How on earth, we can sit here and talk about a Royal Commission, how does the public's faith in what's supposed to be the organisation that protects us, how could it ever be restored?
Well, because, naturally, this country we've always policed by consent. And why are people going to consent to the police now? Because they don't trust them. I think that the situation is that it does need to be looked at from outside, but what we don't want is a massive, great, long inquiry. We've really got to have it sorted out. I think the fact that we are still the police are actually putting new police on now, and they're not actually having face-to-face interviews. They're still actually doing it remotely. I don't know what the whole panel thinks, but if I'm actually interviewing somebody, if you're actually asking them some very difficult questions, you look at the body language, it's not just the answers. And if you're trying to do that remotely, it's absolutely crazy, especially when this situation's like it is. So we've got to root everything out so that the police, because there's still a lot of good police there. Now, come on, let's not damn everybody.
And I think that, for me, that's a tragedy.
they are being damned because there are enough bad apples there now to really make people feel insecure, women and girls in particular, and it really has to be sorted.
Because the point is...
be sorted quickly.
I agree, because in your mind, you're going to... If you can't trust one, you can't trust any of them. I said a phrase last week which was picked up, marking their own homework. I don't understand how, when somebody like Carrick, that monster, is allowed to continue whilst he's being investigated for rape, he's investigated by his own force or another force. There should be an independent body, shouldn't there, Frankie?
No, there absolutely should be an independent body, but I really do think we need to focus on the misogynistic culture within the Met. And I pick up
just the Met?
I mean, more generally, there is misogyny across society, but I think in the Met in particular, there is a particular type of macho misogyny. It is about power dynamics, and I have seen this with police in my time when I worked in Parliament. I worked very closely with the police. They were great, but they had a very macho vibe. They had particular approaches to women. It was about safety, it was about power. And I think that power dynamic, when you're a police officer and you do have difficult attitudes towards women and girls, very quickly stems over into things like sexual assault.
I completely agree. I think the whole panel are... listen, there was a headline on the front of the Mirror today which was absolutely... every 6 days, right, deadly failure, every 6 days, someone in this country is killed by an offender on probation. It's beyond unacceptable. Standards in this country, Denise, people will laugh at me. I'm getting to the point where I'm somewhat embarrassed. That is ludicrous. It's another example, isn't it? I don't want to sit here every night and go, this country is falling to bits, but let's just repeat that. Every 6 days, someone is killed by an offender on probation. The criminal justice system is on its backside, isn't it?
I think it's 10 out of every 17 probation services that were being reviewed are actually effectively not fit for purpose. And what I think we saw with the death of Zara Elena was just the flagrant way in which this person was allowed to go about their business, irrespective of the danger that they pose to the public. And I think what we have is a fragmentation of the public contract. Previously, the probation service was going to be privatised, and then it was taken back into public hands. And each time you have this playing around with it, you're not giving the public the service that they deserve.
Absolutely. And that's the point, isn't it, Neil? That trust is ebbing away. Every 6 days, just tell me what you think of a system that allows that to happen, because that is unbelievable.
And I don't think it's only just the probation service. I think it's a way all the services link together. When I was an MP, when you actually tried to get information on individuals, it was very difficult to get it. And I know you've got to be careful not to divulge too much about any individual, but I think we've almost gone too far now. Yeah. And we've actually got to make sure that where they are actually criminal acts going on, likely to happen, likely to be violent, likely to be murderous even, then you've got to be told. Because even as an MP, I had a great difficulty in actually finding out with different cases what actually was going on, and we can't tell you that, Mr. Parish. Well, they should be able to tell it to me, because we have got to actually act on it.
Very briefly to all three of you, 10 seconds each. Whether it's probation, whether it's the police, why is it so difficult to recruit genuinely good people?
Because I think possibly we don't pay enough. Also, I think it's the pressure on the individual now as well. Because I think the problem is if we get things wrong, quite rightly, everything's probed into. But I think people are almost terrified to make a decision anymore. It's the same on the immigration and all of that. There's a real problem in making decisions.
Well, that was 10 seconds, wasn't it, Denise?
I think the reason we can't recruit very well is because the recruiting processes, one, are not fit for purpose. Two, essentially, there isn't enough diversity in that whole process. And I think the career progression for people in there, once they experience problems, I think the average time is 2 years for most women and people who are black in the Met. So we need to do something about that.
Frankie?
Yeah, I agree entirely with Denise, and also why would you want to work there at the moment? I don't know if I would be proud to say that I worked for the police.
I'm worried. I worry that I'm not going to be proud to say anything about this country. Thank you to Keith, by the way, guys, before we finish. When talking about the police, with all these allegations of misogyny, can you actually clarify how many are in the Met Police? How many other forces have these issues? We have an answer for you, Keith. As of last week, the Met Police is investigating 800 of its officers for 1,000... it's unbelievable, sexual and domestic abuse claims. And the Met Commissioner announced that all 45,000 Met officers and staff would be rechecked for offences previously missed. As for other forces, we're waiting for them to come back. We'll let you know. Neil Parish, Frankie Leach and Denise Headley, did you have fun?
I did, thank you.
Amazing tonight. Thank you very much indeed. Next on JK Live, here comes the rhyme.